Alright guys, the final video to 2023 is going to be this video, an update, a major update that brings new customization for the rider, for the bike, a new bike, new tracks, a new mode, changes to the in-air physics, and new whips. So a bunch of stuff to go over, but I do want to start with the customization for the rider. So not a ton, but it's cool. I would say this is probably the smallest part to the update, especially for the rider, but I do want to show you we got some new gear sets, new jerseys, new pants, and some new helmets. So I want to show you, but this is good. I mean, it's minor, but it's still really good. If you remember this game when it first came out, unless you had mods, there was no customization for this game whatsoever. So the customization system was implemented a few updates ago, or a couple updates ago, but really cool. But the main part, I would say, is for the bike. The bike customization is pretty cool. So you have, we have the Honda, the KTM, the Suzuki, and whatnot. I know they aren't the actual bike, but they're basically that bike, right? So for the Honda, we have two kits here, which are pretty cool. For the KTM, we have two kits, and you basically have two kits for everything, right? The reason this is really cool, in my opinion, is because the game, most of the bikes are just plain plastics. You don't have any kits you can put on them, but now you can. So you can also, it appears, import skins. So if you have mods, you can go that route too, which is pretty cool. But this is kind of part of the major, or a major part of this update. We got a new bike. We have the 450 Honda flat track bike. So a new mode, new tracks. We do check it out, and it was a bit, I was surprised. It's actually kind of fun. It's actually pretty cool, and we will check it out a little bit later in the video. First up, I do want to go over the new whips and the changed, improved in-air physics. So I didn't notice it. I went through the patch notes and then jumped into the game to see what was different, and I tried playing this track, and the bike felt different. In the air, the whips felt different, whatever. So I went back and took a look at the patch notes because it was mostly about the flat track, but it did say it has new whips and improved, changed in-air physics, and for sure, I noticed it right away. The ground physics feel pretty much the same, but the in-air physics and the whips were a lot different. But they didn't really advertise it in the update because the flat track and the customization was the main part they wanted to focus on. So I guess maybe that's why it was kind of a small mention in the patch notes, but I would say it was really good changes. So we got a patch a few months ago that completely redid the whips and the rider model and all that stuff, and I wanted to show you this because this was also in the patch where if you overjump or have a hard landing, there's an animation and you can crash. So it doesn't happen very often, but it did happen sometimes, and I did want to show it to you. So here I'm just trying to move the bike to where we don't start sliding backwards, because it's really easy to crash, and it's tough to get going that way. So it took us a minute, but here we go. We're getting moving again, and it should be good. But yeah, the whips feel better, in my opinion. They feel easier almost, and more, I'm not sure what the word is I'm looking for, but they're like more defined, more easy to make happen. And they are kind of a predetermined whip. I mean, you control it, but if you throw a big whip, it pretty much looks the same every time. Maybe not exactly the same, and you can make it look a bit different, but it isn't as canned, for example, as a Milestone game, but they do feel a bit predetermined, kind of. But they feel good, and they look good enough. The part I wish could be a tiny bit better, two things. I wish, one, you'll see us do it, but when you throw a big whip to the left or to the right, the hand and the arm come way off the handlebars. I wish they could fix that. You might see it here. Yeah, you can see it there. It's right away. So I wish they could animate the rider to compensate for how much you're whipping the bike. I know MX vs ATV has an issue with it too, with the new animations, but it isn't as noticeable in that game. In this game, it's very noticeable. So If they could improve that, that would be great. And I wish they could smooth them out a bit. It's almost like a switch gets flipped in the game when you start to whip, and it's not. I wish it could be a tiny bit smoother. But overall, they're getting better. They're getting way better, especially if you remember where the game first came from. I mean, you couldn't even whip in the game in the beginning. So definitely good. Really happy with where it's at and where it's going so far. Here we have the new mode and the new bike. We have flat track. This is actually pretty cool. I wasn't expecting this. It's a different mode. It's kind of gimmicky, but the ground physics feel completely different. The back end can slide and swap around. I tried to make it happen and show it to you in the game, but it does. It isn't super difficult to do. I felt like when I first played it, I thought maybe it was going to be really easy to crash in the big sweeping turns if you give it too much gas, and you can, but it's really not that bad, and it feels pretty good in the game, especially with some of these really small jumps. It's kind of fun, you know, because the back end slides around so much in this mode. It's kind of fun to throw some big, huge whips and whatnot, but overall, it's really cool. I mean, they kind of feel like they have so many different things in this game. It's almost like they want to have every motorcycle discipline in the game, which would be really cool. So I guess I'm kind of waiting on Dakar, but it is gimmicky, but it is fun. It isn't a main mode that I'm gonna play. It's really fun to try out. Kind of less gimmicky than the Sidecar MX bike, but still not a main point to the game. But we got 3 new tracks with this. Flat tracks plus, like I said, the new flat track bike. So really cool mode. If you have the game, try it out. And we have Supermoto. So I actually had to go back and record some footage for this because I wasn't going to put it in the video, but well, the reason I wasn't going to is because Supermoto has been in the game, but it has its own category and it got a new track. It got this track. This is the new Supermoto track that was added. Pretty cool. And the reason Supermoto is, the reason I'm so like impressed with the Supermoto in this game is because this is what Ride 5 should have had. This is what Ride 5 should have been. They gave us the Supermoto bikes, but we didn't get tracks like this. I mean, this is pretty cool. I just show you part of it, like the dirt part mostly, but really cool. New track, good to see it in the game. Again, similar to what I said with the flat track, it feels like they really want to just have almost every type of motorcycle racing in the game. And here at the end, I do want to kind of get some final thoughts about the game. We get a big wheelie going here. The wheelies actually feel pretty good. I know the studio was working hard to try to get the wheelie physics to work for the people that like doing that, and they felt pretty good. So, the update in the game. This game was a surprise. When it first came out, it felt like it was a street bike game, mostly with dirt bikes on the side. And the dirt bike, the rider model, you couldn't whip, the physics were just kind of a mess, it felt like. But it was still kind of fun, especially in first person. They have come so far from where they were. The new rider model, the customization, the new physics, the new whips, the tracks, just so much they've been adding to the game to make it better. And in my opinion, this is a game you need to pick up. It isn't the best motocross game, but it is fun and I do enjoy it. I don't play it a ton, but it is fun to come back to. If you're short on motocross, supercross content, I mean, graphically, it's getting better. They added new visual effects. They've increased or added graphic settings. I mean, or improved them. The bloom and some other stuff was in in this specific patch. So the game is always getting better. They're always working on it, and I think they're doing one heck of a job. It isn't perfect, and it isn't there yet, but they're constantly putting out major patches throughout the year with added content and changes and improvements and adjustments, and then they usually do a bunch of hotfixes after it. I mean, after every major patch, there's some times where there's like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hotfixes to make sure the game is working the way it should be. So overall, it was a good patch. The new mode is cool, the customization is cool, and I really do like the in-air physics changes and the new whips. There is stuff they could do to improve it for sure, but overall, it's kind of fun. It's actually kind of fun, and I think if you're on PC, you should give this game a try. It isn't a full price game, so go try it out. Support a company that's working hard and putting out games that we like to play. But you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support on the channel lately. It really does mean a lot. And until the next video, take it easy.